So today, for our National Crime Victims' Rights Week, we are talking to our U.S. Attorney, Interim US Attorney, Duane Evans, who has done an amazing job for the office here in the Greater New Orleans area, the Eastern District, for many years. And many of us have had the pleasure of working with he and his staff. So Duane, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about your history, because you have been there and done amazing work for many years.
Good morning, Darlene, and thank you for having me. Yes, I've been here for a little bit, going on 20 years now. Right now, this is my second tour of duty as U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Louisiana. And every day presents a challenge or presents its challenges, but I'm enjoying it. You know, I work with a lot of 130 great people. And despite the fact that we are in a bit of a hiatus due to the pandemic, we're getting the public's work done. And we're going to continue to do it until things get back to normal.
Yeah, y'all really, it's been, and COVID has certainly been such a challenge for everyone. But I guess virtually, living through the Zoom world, the virtual world, we've been able to continue servicing so many people. So what does the National Crime Victims' Rights Week mean to you guys?
Well, the Department of Justice is deeply committed to assisting victims of federal crimes and ensuring that they are afforded their rights under the Crime Victims' Rights Act, or the CVRA. Since 1981, the National Crime Victims' Rights Week has celebrated the groundbreaking efforts to ensure that all victims of crime have rights and have access to the resources they will need for recovery. The National Crime Victims' Rights Week, which is from April 18th to April 24th, will provide everyone with an opportunity to highlight the work being done on behalf of the crime victims and encourages victims to speak out and use the services available to them. And I'll just, I have to mention that we have a stellar victim witness unit at our office, which is manned by 3 individuals, and they make the life of a prosecutor, at least a federal prosecutor in an EDLA, a lot easier. From beginning to end, they are involved in the investigation, and also arranging for flights, arranging for meetings, debriefings, making sure that the victim or the witness has lodging secured. And even if they have to intervene in order to secure counseling, or even determining whether or not the victim is entitled to restitution or some type of compensation. Even if the person has issues with their jobs or creditors after them, we can provide some type of intervention. And also, if English is not the person's first language, they can provide and arrange for interpreter services.
Oh, that is amazing. I know that people don't realize the depth of what y'all are able to do there, and to be able to take advantage of that. And the other thing is that right now the trends, we have sort of a narrative happening where people are very concerned as a victim of their rights, and you guys have been the lead agency doing a stellar job in protecting those rights. So let's just once again talk about that. I know there's some very specific areas there that y'all are able to work in, but this is what you do. You make sure that everybody is being treated fairly and equally.
Yes. Now, on the federal side, there's actually what we call the Crime Victims' Rights Act, or the CVRA, and that's codified under Title 18 U.S.C. Section 3771. And in fact, it instructs DOJ employees to use their best efforts to ensure that federal crime victims are notified of their enforceable rights under the CVRA. And there are 8 rights that stand out under this particular statute. And number 1 would be the right for reasonable protection. When we mention protection and reasonable protection, it doesn't mean that every victim will be introduced to or enrolled in the Federal Witness Protection Program. But it could mean something as simple as someone moving or being transported from Lafourche Parish over to St. Tammany because their safety is at issue in their parish of residence. And going back to, again, the people that we have in the victim witness unit, they will make those types of arrangements. Now, despite that being a right, the victim actually can say yes or say no to the offer. And at the same time, again, we can only make reasonable accommodations for the transport of the individual. If the case is an extreme matter in which we have to contact the Department of Justice or even the U.S. Marshal Service to get that person enrolled in the Federal Protection Witness Program, then that will be done. However, those instances are far and few between. Second is the right to reasonable, accurate, and timely notice of any public proceeding. And that is essentially giving the victim the right to know when a trial or a hearing or a sentencing is taking place. Moving on to number 3 is the right not to be excluded from court. This right is not absolute and can be denied if the court determines by clear and convincing evidence that the testimony by the victim would be materially altered if the victim heard other testimony at the proceeding. Also, victims do not have the right to notice of or to attend or participate in closed official proceedings, meaning a victim doesn't have the right to attend a grand jury proceeding or even a juvenile proceeding. Number 4 will be the right to be reasonably heard. Now that usually takes place when the victim presents a victim impact statement at sentencing. If the situation warrants at any other proceeding, the victim has the right to notify the U.S. Attorney's Office and make his or her presence be known, or his or her intent to be known, that they want to contribute to that particular proceeding. Number 5 is the reasonable right to confer with the prosecutor. That right is not absolute. Again, it does not diminish or impair the prosecutor's discretion to make decisions throughout the course of the case. However, throughout the course of the proceeding and the investigation, as a prosecutor, we must or should consult with the victim as it relates to plea negotiations. If there's a plea agreement in place, we should consult with the victim. We should sit down and speak with the victim to get a sense as to what they want to get out of the case. In their minds, how would they prefer the case to be resolved? And again, we need and we should take into consideration their advice. And during these sessions and during these meetings, we will have a representative from a victim witness unit to help us along the way. Number 5 is the right to full and timely restitution as provided by law. If we have a situation in which you're a victim of an embezzlement due to the fact that you employed someone that stole money from your business, or if you're an elderly individual and you were a victim of a phone scam, we will try our best to make you whole, with no guarantees, but we will try our best to make you whole. Number 7 is the right to proceedings free from unreasonable delay. Now, you mentioned earlier when we did the intro that we're in the middle of a pandemic. So needless to say, we fielding calls from victims wondering when we are going to start the trial docket again. It's been over a year now since we've had a trial, and we anticipate restarting that trial docket within the next 2 months or so. And in the meantime, using the VNS system each month, or however often as the victim witness unit has set up, the victims are receiving notifications that as to the next pending court date for a trial or for a hearing or even a sentencing. And number 8, the right to fairness and respect for dignity and privacy. There are matters that take place in court, charges that we bring against certain individuals that the victim would not necessarily want everything to be placed in the public record. Say, for instance, you're a victim of elder abuse, and somehow you were subject to a phone scam and you gave personally identifiable information over the phone or over the computer. We don't want that information, like your social security number, your date of birth, or any type of information that's specifically connected to you to be placed into the public record. So with that being said, for number 8, we make every effort to speak with the victim and get a sense as to what he or she's okay with revealing on the public record.
So again, I want to thank you so much. Sorry.
But two things one thing I want to bring to your attention, that when we make initial contact with a victim as it relates to a federal crime, that a pamphlet is included in the mailing, and which outlines the rights afforded to the victim. That's number 1. And then number 2, the rights afforded to a victim are not the same rights afforded to a witness, at least on the federal side. And with that being said, some witnesses are entitled to some of the same services, like interpreters or even making referrals for counseling. However, the most important thing is that while a witness doesn't have the same enforceable rights, the witness is entitled to reasonable protection. So in the event that we have a witness involved in a case, and we determine that that person or law enforcement agency that we're working with determines that that witness needs protection, we can make the same arrangements in moving that individual from one parish to another or one state to another, all the way to the extreme situation in which we try to get that person enrolled into the Federal Witness Protection Program.
Perfect. And that was a great point, describing the difference between the witness protection, availability, and certainly the victims, because there is a difference. And you're dealing with everybody,
Yes.
You're dealing with both, so that's important. Well, we really thank you so much for giving this opportunity to the public to learn more about your agency. Again, y'all have done amazing work. And we look forward to sharing your contact information. And in closing, is there any last comment you'd like to make just in celebration of this National Crime Victims Week?
We appreciate the fact that we have you as a partner with what we do, and that again, this office is doing its best to serve the public and do the right thing each and every day. And like I told you before, they make my job very, very easy because they know what to do, and without fail, they know and haven't lost sight of the fact that we all serve the public.
Definitely. Well, congratulations on all the great work. And yes, we hope that we will all be meeting in person soon. And again, thank you for everything.
Thanks,
Take care.
Thanks, Charlene. Have a wonderful day.
You too.